Hello and welcome to Accurity Data Vibes. I am Petr Mahdalicek, founder and CEO of data solution companies that assist businesses with their data-related challenges. It's been my privilege to converse with data experts, and I am thrilled to have you join us today. Together, we'll delve into crucial data topics and we'll navigate the maze of data issues to come up with guidance for you. So, let's get started on this exciting journey of data discovery. Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of the Data Vibes. Today we will talk about borderless data, about how data protection and why is an important topic for companies, and it's beyond the compliance security because it's actually about the trust that between the companies and between the company and regulators, between the company and its employees and the partners and customers. We will discuss all the aspects of data protection with Marco Carmona, who is working as a director of solution engineering at Protegrity. Hello, Marco.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
And actually, it will be great if we can start with that. Marco, you could introduce yourself and say something about your background and about the company.
Absolutely. Again, hello, everyone. My name is Marco Carmona. I'm the Director of Solution Engineering for EMEA at Protegrity. I've been with the company for a little bit over 11 years, and I'd say about myself, I'm passionate about data, and especially now about data security as well. Protegrity's company is a data protection company that's been around for more than 18 years now. It's now an American company, but everything originally started in Europe, in Sweden, at the end of the 90s. And our focus as a company is really on data security as we work with clients really worldwide and across all different industries.
Thank you for the introduction. So I believe that data protection is actually a topic which is touching all of us somehow. Sometimes as a customers in e-shops, or sometimes as a customer even in global companies, telco companies, or banks, and so on. But I'm not sure if everybody is actually aware what data protection is and how it can help. So can you, for the start, explain, let's say, your view about data protection and the definition? Amazing.
Absolutely. Data protection is kind of like the guardian angel of your sensitive information. In a way, it's kind of a superhero practice that keeps your data safe from the bad actors out there. You can think of it as the virtual shield that ensures your information is kept confidential, also intact and available when you need it. So it's not just about locking your data in a vault. It's making sure that your data is impenetrable at all times, whether it's chilling on your server or taking a journey across the enterprise. Data protection is there, making sure that data doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
So it's actually not to keep the data for yourself, it's more to share the data with the others in a secure way.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And we'll talk about how, what we recommend for those. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. So can we the definition or the topic categorize in some groups, or can you give us some more details about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are different methods of data protection, different methods to implement data protection. So as I was talking about superheroes, well, just like superheroes have different powers, data protection has also its arsenal in a way. So you've got encryption on one side, kind of the chameleon that transforms your data into unreadable ciphertext. And then there's tokenization on the other side, kind of the master of disguise, that swaps out your sensitive information with harmless tokens. So these methods are really your allies in the battle for data security. But as always, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Really depends on your business needs. sometimes you can lean on encryption to keep things confidential, especially when it comes to unstructured data. Think about pictures, videos, audio messages, and use tokenization for a more flexible approach. I'd say mostly with structured data. So it's really not about saying no to the bad guys, as you were saying. It's about saying yes to secure and smart data practices and data sharing as well.
Okay. So if I understand it correctly, so you use different method for different purposes, different. So there is nothing like a silver bullet that you have one method for everything. It depends on the use case. It depends on the scenario. Okay, I understand. So if,
Exactly. If you look at it from the business angle, it's encryption, for example, is fantastic for confidentiality. So imagine that you're sending sensitive information through digital highways, right? Encryption is like sending a message in a language that only you and the intended recipient understand, kind of a secret handshake for the data. But on the flip side, I mean, encryption is excellent for locking down information, but it can slow things down a bit. So imagine that each piece of data has to go through a decryption process every time, right? So it's having this extra check at the entrance, and might be tedious for some business operations. And when you think about tokenization from the business perspective, I think it's really a game changer. Now, think of it like this: instead of going through this decoding process every time, tokenization allows you to use tokens. And tokens are just substitute characters. So kind of like having a stunt double for your sensitive information. And this is, in terms of business, it's brilliant for speed. So you're not dealing with the heavy lifting of decryption every time. But once again, it's not the go-to for everything. Tokenization is perfect for scenarios where you need to maintain the structure of the data, the format, because it's typically data type and length preserving. So again, it's always a trade-off in these cases. Encryption for top-notch security for unstructured content, tokenization on the other side for kind of a smoother ride, especially for compatibility, flexibility, and speed of the operation. So really, that's about
got
choosing
it.
the right superhero for the mission.
Got it. And are there some methods also for other use cases? Like, for example, I just want to share data that actually will be not encrypted, and I actually don't want this data to be reused. I just need the data for statistical reasons, so analyze my customer data, or and to be still first compliant with some compliance regulations. But on the other side also, even if I don't have any regulations, sometimes I would like to show, I don't know, my employees or my customers that their data will be used only for one particular purpose and cannot be disused.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this purpose, I think you could use either pseudonymization techniques, like again tokenization, or full anonymization techniques. Now, recently, the European Court ruled that pseudonymized data, and pseudonymized also means tokenized, because tokenization is a form of pseudonymization. Pseudonymized data can be considered anonymous if the whoever uses that data has no means to re-identify it. And so again, using pseudonymization or tokenization is a good way of securely using and sharing data internally or even externally. But if you want to be absolutely sure that there's no way to re-identify the data, you can anonymize data using specific algorithms, for example, k-anonymity, L-diversity, and then use the data either externally for sharing or internally for machine learning, AI, algorithms without without exposing any sensitive data to even internally.
Understood. So I believe you described quite well what data protection is. Can you also tell us what it is not?
Okay, so what it's not. I think data protection is not the digital equivalent of a bubble wrap. When it's not about wrapping everything up so tightly that you cannot use it. It's kind of finding the sweet spot. Keeping data safe and still letting it do its job. So data protection is the information's bodyguard, kind of the shield against cyber threats, and your guide to make responsible use of your data. So it's not just a security measure, kind of your partner, making sure that your data journey is safe and it's also successful. Uh, and I was saying earlier, it's not really a one size fits all. It's not like buying a dress and expecting it to fit perfectly. Every business is unique, and data protection needs are also specific. So it's not about adopting a generic approach. It's really tailoring the solution to fit your specific requirements. And also, if you think about data security, it's not really a destination, it's a journey. So it's not a one-off task. Sometimes we hear a customer trying to check off from a to-do list. It's security is one of the tasks in that list. It's not really like that. You need to security needs to evolve, just like the business needs to evolve. So it's really an ongoing commitment. And again, if you let me change the analogy, not talking about superheroes anymore, more like a sport. So data security is a team sport. Everyone in the organization plays an important part, from the C-suite making strategic decisions, but also to the IT team implementing safeguards. So it's really a collaborative effort, not a solo type of performance.
I see. And okay, so maybe a last question to these definitions before we will start and talk a little bit more about how to implement it and what we need. But the last question would be, okay, so if we talk about borderless data, yeah? So what can you explain your very own definition what borderless data mean?
So when we talk about borderless data, we do not necessarily mean geographical borders. So in a business context, borderless data refers to really the unrestricted movement of information across various organizational boundaries. So the boundaries could be different departments in an organization, or a different line of business, even external partnerships, and also compliance jurisdictions. So that's kind of a generic definition. But then when it comes, because it also refers to actual borders, so different states, nations. So when it comes to geographical borders, we need to start thinking about cross-border data protection that involves securing and managing data when it moves across all these borders, because you have different privacy regulations and data residency requirements in different regions. Think about Europe or Americas, APAC. Each country, each region has its own security has regulation. So business need to kind of address these complexities and ensure that security is in place and comply with the regulations. Now, from a technical standpoint, cross-border means implementing security measures. For example, as I mentioned earlier, in encryption, tokenization, but also data masking, making sure that when data moves across borders, it's protected, right? And at that point, also making sure that you have defined who has access to the data, implement specific role-based access controls, and again, making sure the data is protected against unauthorized access, even when it crosses borders. And the last thing, in terms of security, I think it's crucial because data breaches and non-compliance with regulations have severe consequences, fines. There are legal issues, sometimes even damage to the company's reputation, right? And that could come from failing to protect data across borders. So it's not really a technical issue; it's more like a strategic and a business concern.
I see. And actually, is it also what came on my mind? So like the change in the mindset that when I heard first time, or when I worked first time with your colleagues, it was like 10, 12 years ago, and the topic about the data protections were purely driven by regulations, and it was different kind of regulation. That was that time it was in a big international bank, but over the time I see that there is much more demand coming actually from the businesses, that basically the people want to have, as you mentioned, the better status as a company that is trading, or not trading, but is working responsibly with their customers' data, with their employees' data, with their partners' data. And as we said many times, data is one of the most valuable asset in the companies right now, and therefore, of course, a protection is the way how to keep this treasury inside the company, and not and then this used. Maybe let's move a little bit towards how the companies, or what I need and how I should start if I would like to make sure that my data is protected.
Sure. And first, just to come back to what you just said, so companies do not see data protection anymore, just like the insurance you need to buy for your car, right? So in case you get into an accident, or you're protected. In case of a data breach, you are protected with Protegrity. Yes, that's definitely what it'll do, but it also now unlocks a lot of value and opens up significant business opportunities. So again, it's what you said, it's really important. It's not just about protection in case a data breach or for compliance regulations, really to address to make sure that new business opportunities can evolve and can be can start. And just to mention the main one, I'd say it's cloud migration. In today's this digital age, cloud migration is almost inevitable, and if you apply effective data protection strategies, that'll ensure a smooth transition to the cloud, moving to cloud services, and still keeping the data protected. There's many advantages, but I think this is probably the main one. And to come back to your question, so how companies should start. We work with all kinds of companies, like medium, small, even very large companies, and I'm thinking about kind of a medium-sized company with many different applications, right? And so we would first focus on onboarding the most important applications, and by most important I mean the ones that have the most sensitive data that need to be protected. So our process is really to understand data flows, where sensitive data is located, and how the access requirements look like for each application. Once we understand that, we move to defining a centralized policy management, right? So we, again, based on the risk assessment and the compliance rules, we create what we call a security policy. And it's really a unified strategy for data protection. And the goal is really to ensure consistency and compliance. And the third step, the one that we typically recommend, is kind of setting up a self-service solution. So making the security and the data protection service available as a self-service solution. And that's based on standard APIs, right? So APIs, interfaces, so that application owners are responsible for their development team to onboard themselves efficiently, basically. And this reduces the workload on IT and on security teams, right? And again, it's very scalable, because you don't have to go through tens or hundreds of applications. Each application is responsible independently for their own security implementation with the self-service approach. And really, this has helped a lot of clients in our experience to make security part of their plans.
Thank you. As usually, I guess the devil is hidden in detail. So, is there some place or some tips that you would provide, or where to pay some extra attention while this process? It sounds simple, but I guess that it's not that simple as it sounds.
You're right. So first of all, well, you need to pick the right people, the right solution, and when you think about what to implement and how to implement it, well, think about picking a solution that covers a wide range of data protection techniques. Again, we talked about tokenization, encryption, masking, more anonymization. So this eliminates the need of having to work with multiple tools, multiple technologies, and so you are confident that you can work in a very complex environment. Then also making sure that you use a flexible and scalable tool, right? That's very important for your business needs. So you start small, but of course, typically you grow, and you need to make sure that you can protect your data and unprotect when necessary, right? With high speed, and choosing again the right tool or platform that will help you do that. And then also making sure that all your systems and technologies are covered, right? So now we're talking about cloud, on-premise, different applications, but also older solutions or legacy we call them, mainframes, etc. So making sure that complex environments, either on-premise or cloud or multi-cloud, are covered. So really, these are the main things to make sure that are covered before starting this journey.
Yeah, actually, I would maybe do a step back that you were talking about the benefits and everything before we go further, because you mentioned now a few times cloud migration, and I see that this is a very asked, I would say, yeah, activity that the customers all sizes try to do. But B, I also see that they are aware and afraid of pulling all the data to the cloud from many reasons. And I see that still, I would say the large companies, they put just part of their infrastructure in the cloud. And so I guess that basically the borderless means also that it's also like between the classical on-prem usage of data and applications and the cloud. And so can you maybe give us some examples or some tips for the people who are uh, about to migrate or who like to plan their migration to the cloud, but they are afraid of their data that they will be stolen or misused, or they lose control over it?
Of course. So when I'm moving to the cloud, you need to make sure that the most sensitive information is protected, and there are a lot of different ways to apply this protection. Again, as a check into your to-do list, if you look at most cloud providers, they offer encryption at rest. All main cloud providers, you can load data into their buckets and check the encryption box, and you think you're good. Okay, of course, that's better than nothing because it's an extra layer of security, but who holds that key? Are you responsible for that? As soon as you are authorized to access that data, you'll be able to see it in the clear because you are automatically decrypting it. So that's not really what you need. You need to make sure that you are responsible for your own security. So you need some external security tool or platform that will allow you to control, your data. And again, some of our clients prefer to protect their data before it's loaded into the cloud. So you do this on premise, kind of with a gateway solution, or they're already using, it is a security platform on premise. So they just lift and shift the data. That's the beauty of it. When you have a platform that allows you to protect data the same way, no matter where you protect it, on premise, in the cloud, platform A, platform B. So in that case, if you're already doing it on premise, you just lift and shift, move it to the cloud, and your data will be basically automatically protected. And then still you are controlling who has access to what with all the different services in the cloud. That's one option. Clients that start right away in the cloud, so that have not implemented security before, well, they can think about an approach of, while loading into the cloud, data gets protected and lands protected, or for some technology constraints, they prefer to load data in the cloud, and as soon as it's there, apply protection. And again, only what we recommend, only to very sensitive fields, right? So if you have a social security number, if you're now, a credit card number, something that really needs protection, and you can apply in the cloud and still control it with your security solution. And the security solution can be hosted on premise, in the cloud, kind of a hybrid scenario. It doesn't really matter as long as you apply the correct protection methods.
Makes sense. Thank you for the explanation. And what you mentioned many times is, as I would say, always, it's not one-time job. It's something that needs to be maintained and kept
Yeah.
and improved. So, can you share some experience also about the let's say about the next steps and the life after the project and the checklist is done?
Yes.
So, what are the next steps
Yeah.
and what
Exactly.
people should, let's say?
Sure. So when we pass the first phase, then you need to operationalize the solution, and it involves a few key steps, I'd say. So first of all, map all the architectural design of the data protection solution, right? So where data is stored, how it flows, and what protection methods have been applied, and also consider all the typical architectural facts like redundancy, failover, scalability. So take into account all these things. Then think about security. So, build security from the ground up. That means, again, as we said, encryption, tokenization, etc., implementing the right controls and the right methods. And then the operationalization part, which is really creating detailed procedures like manuals that describe how the solution has been deployed. It needs to be managed and also maintained. For example, there are some key tasks that need to be performed with the security solutions, like key rotation, monitoring, auditing. And when I talk about key rotation, don't be scared. You don't need to change all your data every 6 months. That would be, a lot of work. When we talk about key rotation, typically we mean rotating those keys that protect the data encryption keys. So it's really a high-level operation that improve the security, but you don't need to change all your data at rest. And then training is super important. So making sure that the team is well trained and aware of all the procedures, all the best practices for managing the solution.
And actually, I would say next logical question would be, you mentioned many times that you, of course, need people for that. So do I need some special, let's say, new skills that I basically need to open some new department, or is that something that actually I can train my current people, like the data specialists, just into this new?
Absolutely. So I would say two different groups of people: the security folks that need, of course, a specific training in data security, but then you don't need a very large team to manage, a solution, the security solution. And then there's the application, the team that needs to implement data security. And once that's implemented, the business team, they really don't need to understand how the security works, because they will be accessing the data according to the privileges that they have. And most of the people in our experience can work with the protected data. So there's no need for a lot of business users to unprotect the data unless there's something very specific that they need to see and analyze, but otherwise it's almost transparent for them.
Okay. And so I would say let's move from this operational and organizational part of the story. So what do people always like to hear are some real life examples. So can you share some customer story and let's say how the data protection help companies?
Sure. And if you allow me, I'll quickly share my screen. And because as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Can you tell me when you see the slide?
I can see the slide.
Okay, perfect. So this is a cross-border example, and this is an actual story from one of our biggest customers, a retail bank. So the goal was to share data with an untrusted processor, and in this case, it was the United States. And you've got three different jurisdictions. You see Japan, Australia, and Germany, and they all have their own local legislation, local regulations. Japan has Act of the Protection of Personal Information. Australia has the Privacy Act, and Germany, being part of Europe, GDPR, Schrems, etc. So when trying to share data with the untrusted processor, there were some hiccups. A contract needed to be put in place. In case of Australia, it was not even possible to share the data. And we all know about GDPR, Schrems, so all the limitations. And so what we did in this case, we set up a local secure data service. So a security policy that was slightly different for each country, for each jurisdiction in this case, allowing data to be protected before being sent to the untrusted processor. Once that was put in place, the US received all the three, in this case, data sets. And with the processing engine, they were able to generate the outcome that was needed. So basically enriching the data sets, creating intelligence, insight, value, action. So all kinds of things that were generated by the untrusted processor, like a kind of a partner. And then data was sent back to the jurisdictions. And in this case, the secure data service was used again to re-identify the data and get the full value out of this.
Thank you. Actually, I was when I was thinking about these, as I said, the new use cases and the new needs in the data protection. I was also talking to several friends of mine, and actually, I like very much one example, that actually a real life example that I heard, where data protections would make a huge impact. And this is actually a story from a friend of mine. He's working as a HR data analyst, and basically what they did, they were in collecting a review or say survey from their employees worldwide, and they were not very happy about the response rate. And one of the reasons that they actually identified was that the employees were not sure if the answers that they will get will basically be used only for this survey, if there is no way to track them back, and so on. So I can imagine that lots of companies may have similar problems, like if they are getting feedback from the customers or employees or partners. And actually, it's like something that it really can help businesses to perform better and to get more revenue and so on. Okay, I'm afraid that our time is up. It's a super interesting topic. I think it's super important topic for every company that has data, and that which today is actually every company, and that wants to guard it and wants to share it safely with no borders for their business processes. So Marco, I would like to thank you very much for being with us today and sharing all these insights.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot for having me. So if anyone has any other questions, they can visit protegrity.com or reach out to us directly. So happy to talk to you.
Super. And I would also like to thank to all the audience today for watching. If you liked what you see, please and hear, please follow us. Please leave a comment. And again, thank you very much for watching us. See you at the next episode of Accurity Data Vibes.